We've heard a lot of talk about tariffs and potential trade war and an escalation between countries when it comes to the price of imports and exports, and different officials targeting things like Jim Beam and other things out of America to specifically try to hike a price up on. Some out here are saying that this isn't good overall if they go back and forth and they keep raising the interest rates. That because of that alone, in the end, there really is no true positive gain. When you look at the numbers, plus when you look at these tariffs and what it does to the overall GDP of the United States, it does not affect it tremendously. Now, China is responding, saying that they do not want to engage in a trade war, so to speak. And what they're trying to do, in a sense, is be kind of savvy here and say, hey, you could make more money in your exports if you'd open the door to some of your supercomputers and start selling us them. We'll buy them up. And you can make more money. And the U.S. is just kind of like, no. I've talked about here recently about the hypersonic race out here on the world stage between these world leaders, their technology, this military apparatus. Now, if you really wanted to affect China in terms of what they're doing in trade with the United States, we talked about a perfect example the other night where Eric was stating that close to him, they had a brand new facility that went up that is slaughtering hogs that hired for 3 shifts, 1,000 people per shift. Every last bit of their product is going to China to feed their people. So if you really wanted to, put pressure on them in a real way, in a sense, there's one. And I've talked about a lot of the other aspects in terms of the trade and in China, and a lot of the land here that is already owned by individuals that live in China. All the deficit, the U.S. deficit that was being bought up by Japan, the Federal Reserve, and China, which has slowed. They're like grinding it to a halt in terms of doing that. And I've also talked about how they've backed their contracts on their currency with gold and oil. But in terms of this trade war, China's saying they do not want to engage. And I've also talked about that whole Silk Road thing where they went all the way up through Kazakhstan to the Urals River, and Russia basically stopping that in its tracks, saying that they have their own plan, which is very interesting because that was going to be a huge plan for China. And as I pointed out in the video on undergroundworldnews.com, they can reroute and go down through Pakistan into Iran and into Turkey and go that route. If all else fails, they would have to relay the road. But this is also why India is in a dispute with China. So as these things continue to play out, I will update. I'm going to leave some links here that go over some numbers on where things sit. And it looks like Trump had sent out a tweet earlier talking about wanting to reduce this deficit between the U.S.-Chinese trade deficit, and he put $1 billion, but they're saying it was supposed to be $100 billion. So an update there as well. I will leave links. Make sure to follow me on Twitter for the latest updates. This has been Dabu7. Peace.